Hi Nischal, how are you? Welcome to Daastan-E-Raahi. It's such a pleasure to have you for the talk.
Likewise, thank you for having me over here. Yeah, I'm doing fine. What about you?
I'm doing good, thank you. To begin with our talk, I want to know how traveling started for you.
All right, my first experience was I've never went out of India. Later on, I just started my first outside country expedition, to be frank, for studies in US. So I presently live in US, and later on, actually, somewhat kicked me in, stating that I need to start traveling. Seeing all this Instagram posts and everything, I felt, okay, why should not I do the same thing? And I believe my first kind of wonderful or dreamy imagination place was Alaska. So that was my first destination, which I felt like I just booked everything. I wanted to somehow kick me, stating that I wanted to watch the Northern Lights, and I didn't know about anything. Trust me, I never knew a thing about Northern Lights. I just booked all the flight tickets, started, and in the airport, actually in the Boston airport, I started seeing what is Northern Lights. I just know it's just a colorful thing which you can imagine. It's like a dreamy land where you can see something in the sky. But unfortunately, I was so dumb, to be frank. I didn't research anything on that, and I felt like, okay, let me check. And when I started checking more about it in airport, that's when I felt, okay, oh, there's a lot of things to be considered before I need to watch or before I see a Northern Lights. So yeah, that's my first what do you say, a dreamy destination, to be frank.
Alaska is
Mhm.
a dream for so many people,
Oh,
and yeah, and choosing that. So, did you see the Northern Lights? And did you get a chance to see that?
oh yeah, absolutely. My lucky thing was I what happened was when I was checking in airport, so I was browsing about this Northern Lights details, and I got to know, okay, there's something called KP index, which is sun flare index, basically. So it should be somewhere about 4 or 5 to see in a natural eyes. So my luck was so good, the number showed up 5. But at the nth moment, till I see the Northern Lights, I was not sure, okay, is it true or not? Because you cannot believe any graph which is showing online, right? It can show a different graph on a different websites.
Right.
So later on, I saw that it was showing 4 or 5 at that time, the KP index. But yeah, I was lucky enough to see that.
Wow, and how was that experience like?
Uh, Trust me, I had a long flight. I had 16 and a half an hour journey from here to Boston. It is around 7 plus 4 hours flight. So total of 11 hours flight. Then once I landed in Fairbanks, which is in Alaska, from there there's another journey where we need to take, where you can actually take your car, like a rental car, but a lot of rental agency will not let you go because the path which goes to north, or the driveway which goes to north is called Dalton Highway, where if it's winter, you don't see people for hours together. If your car get broke down or something, you never see people over there. So it's very tough. So I just booked some travel agent at the last moment who can take me up north, and I was constantly bugging him at asking, okay, can we see it? Can we see it? That journey was around 8 hours again. I think around fifth hour or something, we crossed the Arctic Circle. So once we crossed the Arctic Circle, and I started bugging him more and asking will I be able to see it? He just responded by stating that this is Mother Earth. We cannot expect anything. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. At one point, I got disappointed. I just was sitting in the van and driving up north. So at that time, he just pulled over the vehicle and he showed okay, just go and check it out. And I think that was my first experience. After that, we went to some other place called Coldfoot, where we had a cabin, and from there, actually, we how do I say that? Uh, it was magical. at 2 a.m. in the morning, or like I think believe 1:30 or 2 a.m. in the morning. It was like minus 40 degrees Celsius. So negative 40 is not a small thing. Trust me, like you need to like wear a lot of layers of jackets to protect yourself and your body. And yeah, after seeing it, I just like sat over there, like was like just like watching that for like an hour together. So yeah, that was my first experience. So total was around like 16 and a half hours flight or something, 16 or 18 hours total journey was. So I felt okay. This was just like a 2-day trip. What I did, just like fly to Alaska, then finish the thing and come back to my home. So yeah, it was totally worth it. What I've invested the money on that.
So you did a solo travel, like you went solo
uh,
for this trip.
this
Wow.
was a solo travel. Yeah.
And how are lights like? I mean, I've heard there are a lot of colors to it. Normally, you
Oh,
see
yeah.
green lights and a lot of colors. So, what kind of colors did you see?
Usually, like if it's like keep index 4 or something, I believe you can see something like green. If it's like more than 4 or 5, I think like if it rises the keep index, you can see the purple, green. I've heard about blue. I've never seen blue, but I have seen like purple and green for sure.
Wow. I mean, actually getting to see Northern Lights on the first itself, like first time itself, is quite lucky for you, I guess.
Oh,
Not
absolutely.
everyone sees that. Okay. So after Alaska, you came back. Then what happened? What was your next adventure that you went on?
Oh, okay. So after I came back, I don't know, like there's something saying that like once you go for a travel and you cannot sit at home, like you still be in that particular magical imagination in the back. Okay, this is what I did. I think I need more, 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 more. At that time, I think I went to Alaska in February, and after that, once I came, I could not stay for a month. I thought, okay, I need to hit some destination which should be uh, less mankind would have explored. That's when I started like, okay, checking more on details. Okay, somewhere in my mind at the corner, I felt like, oh, okay, why don't I go to Antarctica? And I never knew like how it's gonna work. As I told you, same thing with Northern Lights. I was just like, okay, why don't I do a like homework before just to make sure that I know everything? What's the risk I need to take? What's the cost factors? How the journey would be, everything. So when I started like checking a lot of things in Google and like a lot of blogs, there was ton of people who have traveled to Antarctica.
Hmm.
I thought only like researchers or like some government agent workers or like who has working research in Antarctican land for the climate change. I believe only they would travel, but I didn't expect that like even the tourism would happen over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that, like I think in I think beginning or end of March, I believe I started like researching more about the Antarctican land, how it is, like how we can travel, like what are the expedition companies which will take you there, and what is the risk factors. I think that's when kicked me in, and I started doing. I believe I did something around like a month and a half research on that, just to make sure that like I am safe. First thing, and second thing is like I'm not taking too much risk of my life.
Right.
So yeah, after that, yeah, like later on, I found out one expedition company which I felt like very good reviews, and there is ton of expedition company which will take you, but this was like one thing which made you sure that the hospitality and the travel experience was quite good. Yeah, I picked something called Quark Expedition, who was an expedition company which I felt comfortable going with. And I was not wrong, and the reviews were not wrong, actually, to be frank. They were like really good with an hospitality and like how they treat the customers. It was beautiful experience. Yeah, that's when I started researching. Then I started checking with my friends, like, do you want to come? And they felt like, okay, I'm actually making a joke, and none of them told, okay, I'm not interested.
I mean,
So
Antarctica, who goes to Antarctica?
yeah, that's what like a lot of people thought, like,
Yeah.
are you really a normal man?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I felt, okay, this is okay. Then like one of my actually friend told, okay, let's go. He didn't tell. I told him like, I'm planning like this. This might be the cost, and like, are you interested? and he was like, let's go. He didn't know like anything, where we are going, what we are starting, how we are starting, nothing. He does not know. So he told yes. Then like within a couple of days, I just like gave him all the details, like, okay, this is what it is, and this is the factors which we need to take care, and this is the things which might come in face for us. And later on, like he was like, okay, let's go. And we just like started booking stuff and like started doing the payments for like what do you say, split by split XP, this thing. So that like in the month of December, I believe like I really wanted to go on the month of December. The reason because like that's where the summer is in Antarctica. Uh, so what happens is like you can see both like Icelandic land and even the landmass of the Antarctica,
Okay.
and you can see the, what do you say, like all the small penguins egg hatching at the time of December.
Okay.
So yeah, that's when we like started like doing the payments and like started more exploring about Antarctica and like other countries where like via like how we're going.
Right, right. So how long was this trip? Like how long did you travel in Antarctica?
Uh, so this was around like I believe like 10 days, sorry, 10 nights, 11 days.
Okay.
So there is a point in Argentina, which is called like a small town called Ushuaia, which is like they call it as the end of the earth basically. So once you actually go there, like that's very tiny land actually, uh, where like what do you say, like there's tons of expedition company who start from there to Antarctica because the journey is less time.
Okay.
Same thing if you travel from Australia or New Zealand to Antarctica, so which will take you around 11 days just on a one way. What I heard, yeah, what I've checked in the blogs. And the shortest and fastest route would be the Argentina, which would take you like a day and a half trip. So we started around evening, and I think next day morning or afternoon we were there in Antarctica.
Acha, okay. That was pretty fast. I mean,
That was pretty fast, yeah.
yeah.
But the only risk factor you might need to take is the break passage, which is like what I heard stories like a different over there.
Yeah. Because I remember reading a book about Antarctica, and the author has specifically mentioned about this passage, which is quite rough, and like he had quite a challenge in passing through, like everybody on board. So tell us what is that passage and what exactly goes into it.
Okay, so what happens is like when I started exploring more about this Quark expedition company, like the reviews was good and everything. Later on, we started like applying for an Argentinian visa because I need to like land in Argentina first. Then like I need to be on spot like the town called Ushuaia, so that I can start my journey from there. So we went to New York, got my so we went to New York for Argentinian embassy, and over there like we just submitted the document. The So luckily we were like able to meet a top diplomat in Argentinian embassy, and he asked me like, "What is the purpose of the visit?" And I told we are actually traveling to Argentina. And he asked like, "Which travel agent?" And he told like Quark expedition. I was like, he just like responded back. I heard about a lot of Quark expedition. They are good. Okay, that satisfied one side. Okay, a localite who is telling us that is a good company which you can travel with.
Yeah.
So later on, once we landed in Ushuaia, so we had an embarking ship at I think next day morning. Before that, like we were staying in a hostel. We met like, a lot of other people who were staying in a hostel who was on the same boat. I met a girl called like Namrata. She was from Bangalore. She solo traveled, and met Izzy as a person who has been traveling for a year right now. She was from Kent, England. So we all actually got it a really quick bonded, and we started like went for a dinner, and like later on we just started like onboarding on the ship. So the welcome, how the hospitality they made sure that like they welcomed their customer was like so beautiful. So once we embarked into the ship, actually, so then I started researching more about it, and like I got to know that like the ratio of people and the service members inside the boat is almost equal. So we were around like 200 people in the ship, and there was like not 200, my bad. It's 199 to be precise. I'll tell you the backstory why it is 199. So then like there was like around 150 or 160 people who was working parallelly. So it was like 2:1 ratio where like they make sure that you have everything.
Right.
And the backstory of 199 is because when I was doing a research on this Antarctican thing, there's a treaty in Antarctica stating that if a cruise has an equal to 200 or more than 200, they are not allowed to land on the Antarctican land. They can just dock in Antarctican land and they can head back, but the people cannot come out of the ship. That is one thing I learned, and that's how I found out. Okay, this is the thing where you need to be precise with what expedition company you are picking up.
Right.
Quark was sorry.
Reason for it? Is there any particular reason?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Like there should be some treaty. I'm not sure about it. It's a treaty between the governments and the Antarctican the community, whatever that is. So I'm not sure what is the exact reason why they are trying to do. Probably one of the reason might be like they do not want a lot of tourists in that spot, so that like obviously we have already destroyed all the 6 continents. They do not want to destroy the other one. So probably that might be the reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is one thing. Probably that is one of the thing I believe. And other things I don't know what is the exact reason why they did, but so I saw a lot of companies who is taking like 400, 500 cruise companies who will take you there, but you will not land in Antarctican. You cannot step onto the Antarctican land, to be frank. Like people who is planning, make sure you have that research done, or call the companies, expedition companies, ask them like if you can step a foot on Antarctican land, or is it like how it works, so that like they have the enough details so that they'll not be disappointed.
Right.
Regarding the Drake Passage, like what I was, so we took a ship around like 1:30 in the afternoon, I believe. Yeah, the boarding time was like 2:15. So we embarked the ship and like we were heading, and next day, like we all like there was a welcome party and everything. So next day morning, we heard a news. One of the company, I don't want to name the company, but one of the company, expedition company, they actually had an incident 2 or 3 days before where they could not pass a Drake Passage because of the high tides. The current of the water which hit the ship, and usually what happens is like you would have seen a ship where it has a pothole, like off a window, they call it as a pothole. So that pothole windows got broken because of the current of the Drake Passage. So, and they needed to head back. And I heard this the morning of the travel to Antarctica, and like I was like shocked. Okay, what's happening? So that felt me okay. I should have seen what it is. So after that, like our Drake Passage towards Antarctica was pretty smooth. Trust me. I felt seasickness, yes, but initially I thought, okay, I'm a person, I would not feel seasickness. That's confident what I felt. But later on, like in midnight, I think the day when we started, I think like 2 a.m. or something, it kicked me, and trust me. I just like went to the reception, called the doctor. She woke up for me. Actually, she came and just gave me the sleeping medicines, or like seasickness medicines. Yeah, next day morning, that's what like I heard this news. I was like, okay, fine, will I reach? And I just like went to the captain at the top. I spoke with him actually, and he told, okay, like no, actually the current is very low. You guys are lucky that you are not experiencing a very hard the current of sea towards Antarctica. Then like I was like, okay, I felt good. So at the evening or something, we already been reached to Antarctica. So because like I don't know what time it was, trust me, because like once you go south when it's summer, you get 24 hours daylight. You never see a dark. So that's the toughest part. So that was my first experience of 24 hours daylight. So which is like basically like you never get sleep. That's the other side, because you see like all the sun 24/7, you never see the thing. So yeah, like it's very hard to sleep. We used to like close the curtains, everything. We used to sleep. That's what we used to do. But yeah, regarding the Drake, I heard like it's one of the toughest channel to cross because of the high tides. The way where it actually is a point. Drake Passage is a point where like the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean merges.
Okay.
So I believe the tide would be very high, the current would be very high. So yeah, so that's how the experience was onto the Antarctic land. But I felt it is very smooth. Okay, nothing big of a deal of a Drake Passage. While coming back, uh, actually, like I felt what is Drake Passage.
Okay. What happened?
So, which was like one side scary, the other side actually the ship was like going inside water, coming up back, inside going, coming up back. We used to, so there was like no I think breakfast, no lunch, because of they cannot use fire or anything in the kitchen because of the high tides. So they used to like serve us food, like a bread or something, coming to our doorsteps. So we just like stepped out in the sense like we were in the a common area where I used to see at the back of the ship, and like back of the ship was like going back in, and the tide used to go fly. I had like, what's happening?
Sounds
So,
scary.
oh, it was scary. Trust me. Later on, like, okay, then like we used to like we cannot walk straight, right? Like the ship goes wobbling, and like you need to like walk like this. And the as I told you, the hospitality was so good. There were people every corner just to make sure that like they are holding you and pulling you inside to the other side of the thing. So it is what how it was actually. So later on, actually, like once we crossed the Drake Passage, it got calm towards the Antarctic land. But sorry, I mean like Argentinian land, South America. But yeah, it was quite scary.
Well, I mean, I think what I read was quite true. The similar experience has been shared by the author in that book. So, how was
But yeah,
overall?
yeah,
Yeah,
everyone cannot experience the same thing, right? Like sometimes, like who knows, like people would have a very smooth journey both sides.
right, right. Of course, I mean, it's nature, so you don't know, you get to experience the same kind of stuff. But how was your overall experience of Antarctica? I mean, how is the place? And I mean, it itself sounds so amazing, like going to Antarctica, but how was your experience to that place?
I think the first point where we landed was around on I believe where was it? I'm trying to find out. So which was in like Baristos Island, the South Salton island or something. I think that's where I saw the first penguin. So the weather was too smooth. Uh, uh, it was not rough, to be frank. Later on, like what we did was like they told, okay, let's actually embark into a Zodiac. That's a small boat, and they took us to a landmass. So that's not an exact Antarctic landmass, to be frank. So
Okay.
that's just a small island. So over there, that's when like say I saw like the penguins, and when you see the penguins like at the first time, like the real penguins, like it's so cute. It will be just like tick 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 tick. It will be running always. So I loved it. Trust me. So when I saw that, actually, I took out my camera. I started like clicking pictures. Only that place I believe like have like around like 500 to 600 pictures, because like that was my first penguin experience. Later on, I just like once they landed us into that particular island, then like we just roamed around the place, and like we just like I just like okay, I thought like okay, let me sit and experience it without a camera. And that's when I just like captured a lot of memories which is not in my camera. So yeah, that's when I started watching everything, all the penguins and all. And regarding the temperature, was not bad, to be frank. It was like 0 degrees Celsius, which is yeah, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which I usually experience back in US right here. So I was like fine. Other than that, like yeah, then like we started moving every time when we are having lunch or dinner. We used to go to our next destination. The ship used to take us to the next particular destination. So yeah, every destination is very unique over there, because you overnight anything can change. It's an Antarctica. End of the day. Overnight it can snow. It can like rain. The tides might get too high. You never know what's going to happen over there. So the captain of our ship, like at the once we embarked the welcome, what do you say, like party. So he told us we'll try our best to make sure that like you have seen all the places, but we cannot promise it. The reason because once you be in the land, you will get to know the weather. So if it's possible, they'll let us get into the zodiac and like make sure that you are in the land, or else it's very tough to go to the landmass. So yeah, that was the first on, I believe, like December 13, 2018. That was my first land expedition in Antarctica.
Okay, okay. So is there any particular experience or place that just stayed with you of Antarctica?
Oh yeah, no. Trust me, there's one spot called Paradise. I will never forget that.
Is
So it's
that
called,
right?
it's also called as Paradise. Yeah, it's called Paradise Harbor.
Okay.
So what happened was like, it's like, I think like U-shaped mountains everywhere where your ship actually goes between that and you dock over there, and like you see like all the 180-degree view of all the mountains. And we were lucky enough, climate was wonderful. uh, Climate was wonderful. There was no high tides, the water was so calm. And other side there was an Antarctican, sorry, not Antarctican, sorry, Argentinian base. So the research center was over there. So they took us to the research center. We sat down over there. The climate was beautiful. Trust me, I was like not even wearing any jacket. I was like this, what I'm wearing right now. I was just sitting like this. Uh, so it was such a beautiful this thing, like climate it was. And later on, like started like, so luckily we had some satellite internet in board. So I started connecting and started video calling my parents and show them like this is what Antarctica is, so that like they can travel somewhere in future. uh, yeah, so that's when I started calling all my friends, started showing everything like, okay, this is the place, I think you should come over here and all. uh, yeah, it was a magical land. After that, like once we saw that, like, and they told us to, we are planning to do a polar jump. Polar jump is basically somewhere like you jump into an Antarctican waters, and you make sure that like, I mean, like you can swim for like a bit while, but like if you're not comfortable, you can just like get into the Antarctican water and come back up. So they're gonna make sure that like you have all the safety precautionary measures before you do that. And yeah, so that's how that's one of the experience which I really wanted to do. I did it. So luckily I can say that like I have did a polar jump in Antarctic Ocean, and I've done a polar jump in Arctic Ocean. Both I have done.
Wow. And like, is water like really cold, or how? Like, is this like safe? I don't know. I mean, that sounds crazy, actually.
Actually, to be frank, yeah, I'm like, I didn't feel it was cold.
Acha.
I don't know. My personal experience was I didn't feel the water was cold. And once you come out of the water, that's where you feel cold. I believe when you are inside the water, it is not. So yeah, like once I came out, I was like shivering. They just like gave me a shot, to be frank, of vodka. So like, do you want it? I was like, okay, let's take it.
Yeah.
It quickly warmed my body. But yeah, I think like that's the magic of vodka. That's the other case. But yeah, like once you came out of water, that's where you feel the thing. But yeah, like that was one of the magical experience what I have it in Paradise Harbor and doing the polar jump.
But is it safe? I mean, obviously there are a lot of marine life also. So is it safe to jump, or what kind of precautions they take when you do that?
So basically what happens is like they make sure so obviously like you see all the icebergs over there. So what people over there, like, or the agents do that is like they take the zodiac and they spin around so that the iceberg moves apart, so that like you'll not be hitting the iceberg when you're like landing into the water. So they make sure that like they verify everything. They do have like divers who make sure that they check that there is no iceberg underneath where you're trying to jump.
Okay.
And they'll be like, once your ship is over here, there's zodiac the other side, just to make sure that if anything They tie your rope just to make sure that if you're a good swimmer, whatever you might be an Olympic champion also, but they make sure that they tie your rope so that like they'll never miss your. Sometimes like somebody gets into shock of water, like if they hit it,
Yeah.
so they want to make sure that they are safer. So there are divers who will be other side so that they can, if anything goes wrong, they can immediately pull you out of the water. So yeah, so they make sure that they take the precautionary measures before we do a dive.
Yeah, that is very
There'll be no marine life what I've seen, but like yeah, like not there, but like there are, but like they'll be apart, they'll be far away.
okay. Yeah, I mean that's important, and safety is again one thing which everyone would have mind doing such kind of adventure.
For sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if somebody wants to travel to Antarctica, how would you suggest to go for it? Like, I mean, what should be their steps, or what should they keep in mind when planning their trip to Antarctica?
It depends. I've seen so recently I was in India. At
Okay.
that time, actually, I saw like a travel brochure stating that like tourist companies back in India are taking them to Antarctic lands. So I've seen that kind of advertisement over there back in India. But the one suggestion, if you're going through a travel agent, I would recommend you to ask them like which expedition company they are taking the ship from and from where.
Okay.
So try to research more about that ship. That's just to make sure that like as I mentioned, there is a limitation of 199, I believe 197 or 199. I'm not 100% sure. I'll give you the answer later on. But yeah, there's a limitation on that. Make sure that your ship is less than 197 so that you will be able to step a foot in the Antarctic land. If it's more, trust me, they're just like gonna like cruise by the Antarctic land. They're gonna show you from the far away, like in the ship, there's Antarctica, and you're gonna come back home. So you'll not step a foot. So I would not recommend anyone to do that. The reason because you're investing a ton of money in this and ton of your time.
Right.
I would not recommend that. But if you're uh, going through a travel agent, I would recommend you to go and like ask them this is what it is. Make sure you do your research before you sign up an agreement with the travel agent. And if you're going with an solo trip, if you're traveling as a solo trip, you can do so. But make sure you do your research, what I did in my past, where you get to know like which all expedition company will take you, what's the pricing, how many days, where all they're gonna take you. So they have a chart or a map which will give you an idea like okay, they're gonna like this location in these many days.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, so that's how it is. But make sure you do your research before you enroll or sign up with any of the travel agents or the polar expedition companies.
Yeah. So talking about money, I know that it changes every year. Things changes, but to give an approx, how much does it cost? Like if somebody wants to plan out and have an approximate figure, so what would you tell them?
Uh, I don't know, like it depends. Again, the reason because why I'm telling it depends is like the ship has a different ranges of accommodations. If you're in the bottom of the ship with the porthole, there is a different price. Like a shared bunker, almost three people in a room, there's a different price. If you have like two people in a room, there's a different price. So the price range goes up all the way from bottom to the top of the ship. The top of the ship would be like almost like a suit. Bottom of ship would be like I think like you would have seen like in Titanic movie, like where Jack stays. It's like that
Yeah.
somewhere, but it's good. Trust me, like it's not so bad. So, but yeah, it price range just goes. I believe like it might start if you book it earlier. Make sure that you get a perfect accommodation. I think it might goes from 3 lakhs, I believe, of Indian currency,
Mhm.
and goes up. And yeah, if somebody is having a concern stating that okay, I'm a girl, I need to stay with the girl, there is accommodation that they do that only like they go with a gender specific room accommodations. And even if you want, there's a mixed also, but like there is a gender specific. And yeah, it goes, and like it depends how you want to like stay in the ship. Everyone, it doesn't matter like if you are staying in the lower deck of the ship or the upper deck of the ship, everyone gets the same experience. There is no what do you say criteria that like upper deck of the ship will have a what do you say like additional experience or something.
Hmm.
Hospitality might change. It depends how you travel. If you travel in an economic flight or a business flight or a first class flight, the accommodation, like the how the this thing accommodation of the person or the hospitality changes. But in
Right.
this case, I think like everyone has the same experience.
Okay. And another important thing which I want to ask about is about the food. Like, of course, it's a 10-day trip, and a lot of
Oh,
people are
yeah.
concerned with their food choices and all. So how is that like? And is it great for vegetarians or it's a challenge for vegetarians? That's also one thing.
So I'm not sure about the other expedition company, but my expedition company literally accommodated us very good food. Uh, One thing, like I know, like there is a lot of Indians who's vegetarian, so like for them this might pick it up. But uh, as I mentioned, like one of the girl who came with us, like was called Namrata, she was a vegetarian. So at the first few days, she had some struggles. The reason because like people were not aware that like she wasn't vegetarian, but like there was a lot of onboarded people who were vegetarian. Not first day, actually, the first night I think so. After that, like later on, they started accommodating food specifically for vegetarians so that like they can have. So this Quark Expedition company like had a theme where like each day, each country kind of stuff. It's like there was like one day it was completely Chinese food, one day it was like Italian, uh, American breakfast, American foods, and like there was like different regions they were like accommodating, making sure that like their customers are like satisfied.
Right.
And so once I embarked, I think like we were three Indians plus there was like a family of four from Nepal and an Indian Malaysian, and there was like around like 10 or 12 people who were like Indian origin.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, so they saw like one of the day actually the head of the chef actually called me up and told me like we are planning to prepare Indian food for you guys. Like, can we just like tell like what you guys want? The first thing came in my mind was biryani. Trust me, like I love biryani. So I asked him like I want biryani. She was like, okay, we have a chef who is an Indian who can prepare a food for you guys. And she asked me to like take an initiation and ask other people in the board so that like we can ask like what they want to have. So, and a couple of days later, the next day, even next day, I think like in the afternoon or something, I told them, okay, this is what everyone wants. Is it fine for you guys to prepare? She told like, okay, no worries. We have everything. We'll prepare it for you guys. The dinner was an Indian dinner. We
Wow.
had a proper plated veg biryani, chicken curry, mutton curry, naans, dal, papads.
Yeah.
Like there was a ton of food. Trust me, like I don't remember a
Sounds
lot.
like a dream, yeah.
Having
Shubha
a food
and
in
Archana is
Antarctica
having
land,
their favorite foods.
yeah, having a biryani in Antarctica land,
Yeah.
it's one of the epic experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. It seems you had really a fun time visiting Antarctica.
Oh, absolutely. And so I'm like, what happened was like once I came back from Antarctica land and landed in the Argentinian like the exact landmass of South America,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened last 10 days. I totally forgot everything. My It was like where you sleep, you awake, and like you forget the dream. It was like that for me. After I visited, so I have something called polar steps. I just like watched through that and like all the pictures which I've taken. That's when actually that somewhere in my subconscious mind it's picking my memory. Okay, this is what I've did. This is what I've did. But like trust me, like I still did. I don't know what all places I went because if I don't refer to my polar steps, the application, I'll
Mm.
never remember it.
Wow, it sounds like a forgotten dream or something.
Oh, totally. Trust me, like I'm still like I'm still thinking, okay, I might need to go again. Someday, probably in future, I might go again.
Wow. I think like listening to your experiences make me also think, someday probably I also want to go and visit Antarctica. And your experience and information is, I think, quite useful because a lot of people don't know like how to travel to Antarctica. Of course, we see on National Geographic and Discovery about all that, but a common man planning for a trip to Antarctica sounds like a difficult choice, basically. But
Right.
yeah, but I think your information would definitely help out. And it brings us to almost end of our talk, Nischal. And if people want to travel, follow your travels, where they can do that? This is such an important question because I know you have a couple of very amazing pictures on your Instagram.
Oh yeah. So like I'm still building my website, but the thing is like they can reach out to me through an Instagram. So my handle is like hungrybird007.
Okay.
They can reach out. They can directly ping me if they have any questions related to any of the travel towards Antarctica. I would be really happy to make take a initiation, give some suggestion, start reading blogs so that like I can give them like what is the present condition, so that like I can help them out if to achieve their dreams.
I think that would be very useful. And while putting this out, we'll tag your Instagram handle. So if anyone is interested, they can get in touch with you and have more information on Antarctica.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, thank you so much, Nischal. It was lovely having you for the talk. And I'm already thinking about Antarctica. I hope our listeners are also doing the same. Thank you so much for coming on Daastan-E-Raahi.
Thank you for having me over here.
Yeah. Thank you, and we'll see another wonderful traveler next week. Till then, take care, stay safe.